I only see Jaya and myself on the. Is Member Fraser here on camera?
He's trying to get on camera. The recording has begun.
All right.
Would you like to announce the meeting, or do you want me to?
I'll let you go ahead, Cheryl. Thank you.
This is the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Education Outreach and Training Committee. Today's date is June 8th, 2021. The time is 5:33. We ask that if you are making public comment today, that when you choose to make public comment, press *6 so that we can hear you. And then when you are done with your comment, please press *6 again to mute your telephone once you have concluded your statement. Remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N3320 declaring a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London N. Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25th, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at sfbos.org/sunshine. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Chair Hyland, would you like to read meeting decorum?
I'll let you go ahead, Cheryl. Thank you.
Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave.
Okay.
Item number 1, sir.
Yes, please.
Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. I have this meeting started. It's at 5:33. I'll take roll. Member Padmanabhan.
Present.
Member Padmanabhan, present. Member Fraser.
Present.
Member Fraser, present. Chair Hyland.
Present.
Chair Hyland, present. We have a quorum. I am not aware of any agenda changes. No one has contacted me either by phone or by email to indicate this. So I think the agenda stands as it is.
Okay.
Okay, ready for the next item?
Yeah, before that, could everyone who's not talking mute their microphones? I'm hearing a little scratching in the background. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead.
Item number 2, adoption of the minutes for the May 11, 2021 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. I have a copy of the minutes. Does anybody want to make any changes?
Members, do you see anything? It looks pretty good to me.
Me too.
Kevin, any changes?
No, I think I'll move to pass the minutes without amendment.
And I second it.
All right.
Take a vote.
Let's take some public comment on that.
Public comments.
Public comment on approval of the minutes only.
Yes, please. Can you hear me?
Stand by.
Can I be heard? Yes, please.
Yes, we can hear you. Mr. Warfield,
Thank you. Thank you.
do we have any other speakers?
Yes, anonymous, please.
Okay, we have 2 speakers. Anyone else? Okay, it looks like we have 2 commenters.
I'm still hearing a lot of static. If you could please mute everyone else except the speakers.
Okay, great. Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Just let me know when I can start.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117. With respect to the minutes, it seems as though a similar thing has happened as what's been happening before, although it's gotten a little bit better from when it started, when there was no association and no context to my name being included. On the first appearance of my name and library users, you have included the information that I provided, except left out the email address, which I give first because it's the more important and the one that's more likely to be used to get in touch if somebody is interested. I say these things as you know, but you may not know how it started. The whole thing started when last summer we made a complaint, and a complaint from Library Users Association against the Library Commission was transformed in what was sent to the library as Peter Warfield versus the library. That left out the accountability and the source. And it was a battle after that when I started to get it corrected, to find out what happened and why, and to get it sent to the right person, which was the Library Commission president and not the city librarian. It took 5 weeks of attempts to find out from Cheryl Leger what's happening with the minutes when I started attending meetings, because there was nothing but my name, despite the fact that I usually give my title, the group, and email address. And it just kept going. I asked politely for change to be made, and it wasn't at first. So part of the reason why I say all of this information is because I think it's important, and I don't like the feeling of being silenced and names obliterated. I think it's important to identify people in the way that they wish, and to summarize what they
30
say in the way
seconds.
that they wish. So I'd like to have all of the references corrected to include everything that's on the first reference plus the email address. In addition, on item 3, we said it's important to identify people the way they want and to summarize them the way that they've spoken, not to identify everybody because people are entitled to be anonymous if they wish, but to identify them as they self-identify.
Your time is up, sir.
To that, thank you very much.
Do we have a second speaker?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Anonymous. I wanted to point out a few minor corrections in the substance of what I've said as noted in these minutes. It says on page 2 in the general public comment, Anonymous stated that he wants to use this time to inform the SOTF of various changes regarding the SOTF. It should say the Sunshine Ordinance, not SOTF in the second one. In the second sentence, it is Anonymous noted that the mayor has signed an agreement to, quote, renew, end quote, the request for metadata. Instead of renew, it should say comply with. They signed an agreement to comply. And in the substance of my file, 20014, it says Anonymous stated that the city attorney has already been found in violation for not providing property calendar entries. What I said is they've been found in violation for not recording property calendar entries, and that is prior order SOTF 19108. Thank you very much.
Are there any other speakers for public for the minutes? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Maker of the motion, would you consider those edits the last speaker provided?
Yes, I would like to incorporate those edits. So I'm happy to either issue a new motion or just state that I'd like those edits to be included in my prior motion.
Okay, I think that's good enough. And then seconder.
Yes, I'll second the amendment.
Okay. All right, Cheryl, if you can note those edits to the motion and make those into the record, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll have to check the tape because he went very quickly. So I'll check the tape and
Yes,
make sure
please.
that what he said is what's reflected.
All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. Next item, please. Hold on one second. Let's take a vote on that. I don't think we've actually voted. Apologies. Let's vote on the minutes. So we're voting on the minutes with those amendments.
Yes, I'll take the roll right now.
Okay.
Member Fraser.
Aye.
Member Fraser, aye. Member Padmanabhan.
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland.
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. The motion to accept the minutes with amendments has moved.
Very good.
Item number 3, sir.
Yes, please.
Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the Education Outreach and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Are there any speakers, public comment?
Yes, please.
I hear one. Anybody else?
Anonymous, please.
I hear two. Two speakers. Cheryl, at your pleasure.
Okay. Who's first? Anonymous, are you first?
No, Mr. Warfield.
Okay. Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes, just tell me when to start.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. A couple of things. First off, there seem to be rumblings to adopt a new mechanism for doing remote meetings, and it's perfectly reasonable to do that and consider what you want to take as your system. But I do think that that's something that might be discussed in public, and for there to be public discussion about what you have learned about the different systems and what you consider to be the pros and cons and what you would like and what your options are with respect to the use of them. As you might know from last week's full task force meeting, there have been many problems with the WebEx system as it functions and functioned at the public library, causing people to be excluded from making public comment and also having a lot of unnecessary stress, or hopefully unnecessary stress. So I think that maybe it would be very useful, well, it would be useful, I think, to both convey to the public and discuss what you have learned and what you know about the various systems, what your preferences are and why, and possibly get some input from the public. Second of all, with respect to the ruling of the task force last week on the Library Users Association complaint, thank you for the vote. And I am not clear that this was to be sent anywhere for follow-up. I think that the fact that the library was very hazy and unclear about what the technical issues were with respect to what they said caused the difficulty, and considering the fact that there were other issues that we raised, including that Member Schmidt found to be an additional violation, it seems to me that it would be useful to send this to a task force committee for follow-up, see what they've understood about problems and what they are doing about it. Finally, with respect to next request, let me say that I have received hints that next request would be used, and then gotten very mysterious, what looked like scam emails claiming to be from the city government and then coming from a .com domain name, and then having contents that had no relation whatsoever to the requests for documentation that we made.
Your time is up, sir.
Needs to be reviewed by the task force. Thank you.
Victor, are you listening in? And if so, you mute the other channel, please.
I pressed *6. Can I speak?
Is that you with the dog in the background barking?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
one moment. I'm going to mute everybody so we can get rid of some of this background noise, and you can press *6 once we call on you to speak. Give me one moment, please.
Victor, hold on. And when we come back, we're going to have Anonymous first, and then that last speaker, you'll be the third speaker following Anonymous, okay?
Okay, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
so don't hit *6 until you've heard Anonymous finish speaking, and then you'll be next.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Victor.
Okay, I have muted the participants. The anonymous speakers, you may press *6 at this time to unmute yourself and begin your comment.
Sure, let me know when I may begin.
All right, you ready, sir?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Again, I'll use this time to inform the committee about citywide changes. So as part of the agreement that the mayor's office has signed, it affects the mayor's office itself. And it's not just metadata, there's some other things in there as well. So we had proposed to the mayor's office that they actually issue an executive directive incorporating various of the rulings you've made in now numerous of my cases that essentially tell the city, no, you have to follow all of the Sunshine Ordinance, not just parts of it when you feel like it, to all of the departments under her control, which the Sunshine Ordinance makes her legally responsible for the implementation of the ordinance in all of those places. Unfortunately, she, as of last week, has declined that request. They've thought about it for a while and decided no, and they're going to leave it to supposedly the discretion of each agency without an executive directive. So I'm going to ask that this committee, which I believe is the appropriate location to do it, it was going to consider some sort of letters to departments about complying with all the various sunshine rules and the patterns that you'd see in agencies not doing so. And I hope you do consider that urgently. I think it's necessary. Ideally, hopefully, it would cut down on the number of complaints because agencies just don't take the Sunshine Ordinance seriously. And it doesn't seem like even some of them have even read the entirety of the law, even the individual custodians whose job it is to actually implement those laws. So please do, promulgate that letter as soon as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the end of your statement?
Sorry, yes, that's it.
Okay. Next speaker, you may unmute yourself, and Cheryl, let them know when you're ready.
I'm ready. My name is Magic Altman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Altman.
Thank you. So, I've been attending a lot of public meetings since we've been online, and never once has the public been asked what we needed to feel like we were being heard. For example, the entire program usually says, you are unmuted. Now you can ask your question. When public comment is not about asking questions, and of course, most meetings, when you ask a question, we're told that nobody will answer them. So, we really need to have input on this. We've never had it this whole time. It's not democratic. It's not according to the Sunshine Ordinance, and it is not fair to the people. So I really hope, because the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force has made some great actions, but as the last speaker said, nobody listens. I got 2 unanimous decisions from you about behavior of the Police Commission before, and the Police Commission just refused to do anything about it. So I really respect the work that you're trying to do, but we need to include the public in the discussion of how to use these mediums. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Altman. Any other speakers for public comment?
Hello, this is Liza. I have public comment.
Yes, hold on 1 second. We'll start the clock for you. Cheryl, let them know when you're ready.
I will. Ms. Morosky, are you ready?
Yes, for public comment on regarding the order of how this meeting is handled. I find it very non-compliant with anyone with any disabilities, hearing impaired or visually impaired. Most of the other meetings are at least on Zoom where you have an opt-in. I don't have anybody to relate to of who I'm talking to. I'm here because of the lack of agency from the Department of Public Health, not by my own means. And I'm fighting for a community, and I'm not able to send outreach and have support from my community in which I'm speaking for and about because of the difficulty of trying to navigate getting to this meeting, which is one of the most important meetings because there is no oversight and accountability in San Francisco within our governing city hall in the moment. So I'm suggesting by the laws of disability, those hearing impaired, that as a city official or a committee, that you change the platform to be able to represent more transparency and inclusiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Anybody else for public comment? You may unmute yourselves to announce you want to make public comment, *6. Hearing no other speakers, public comment is now closed. Cheryl, please read the next item.
Just a second.
Okay.
Item number 4, file number 20055, complaint filed by Liza Morosky against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner. I just want to say with regards to this complaint that I was in touch with 2 people last week from the director's office, and one of them said that they would do their best to get somebody to attend the meeting. So that is why this is on calendar.
All right, well, let's start with that. I just heard Ms. Morowski. I know she's here. Is there anyone from DPH present? And who did you hear from, and who did they say would be present?
Well, I didn't say.
Sorry, I was on mute, everyone. Hi, this is Veronica Vienne from the Department of Public Health.
There we go. Great.
All right. Good to hear your voice. Okay, we have both parties here. And this is a new case that we're hearing to determine jurisdiction and to see if we have everything you need to set it up to full committee. Is that right, Cheryl?
Yes.
All right.
So this will be a rehear. We already heard Ms. Morosky's testimony last month. This case was continued pending getting a member of the Department of Public Health to attend. Ms. Vian is here.
All right.
So, do we want Ms. Morosky to repeat her testimony for the record?
Yeah, let's do that. Ms. Morowski, you have 3 minutes to kind of give us a summary of where you're at and what you have received, what you haven't received. And then we'll get the same from Ms. Vian. So Cheryl, let her know when you're ready.
Are you ready, ma'am?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please.
Unfortunately, I do not have my notes from last meeting. However, if you look at your agenda, you will see that there's 72-page attachments. And if you go to the end, that is my last correspondence with Department of Public Health, Veronica, on 3/31/2021. This request was also for Dr. Colfax. So with that said, my prepared statement for this evening is as follows. Good evening, community members. As you can see for yourself, the 72 pages of evidence that the Department of Public Health received, acknowledged, and agreed to send me the various FOIAs I have requested, referred to in this hearing. The FOIAs are for case management ratio to client-centered care in all of the facilities in low-income SROs, as well as facilities. run or facilitated by nonprofit mental health, DPH, substance organizations, and all treatment facilities. Dr. Colfax has issued and brought this to you pre-COVID in August of 2019, and again presented to you in our one-on-one in-person meeting October 23rd, 2019 at 11 a.m., where I demonstrated the lack of cultural competency, qualified case management, as well as the lack of data that reflects this, as well as the breakdown of funding each organization facility receives that represents proper and appropriate care and that the needs of the clients are being met, which is a violation of the state-regulated case management ratio to client-centered care based on the level of mental health challenges and/or co-occurring disorders. That range would be moderate to intensive case management, including wraparound services and treatment on demand, which currently under DPH is a violation of the 2004 treatment on demand ratio and culturally responsive resources, as well as treatment services, including mental health and substance abuse. In 2012, these services were cut by 70%, and you are currently 67% understaffed in the area of mental health and substance abuse services, treatment facilities, including navigation centers and shelters. I believe as a public and as a consumer, we are due this data, and I believe the Department of Public Health needs to be transparent in the services offered and how they are funded. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Hearing none. Respondent, you have 3 minutes. Shall let them know when you're ready.
Ms. Van, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Veronica Vian from the Department of Public Health. In regards to Ms. Morawski's public records request, I have done a search for a number of the different requests. In particular, Ms. Morawski is asking for records pertaining to Conard Care or Conard's House Services, Conard Mental Health Services. Conard Mental Health is I believe, a contractor of the a contracted service with the Department of Public Health. And in the initial FOIA request referred in page, I believe it was in page 10 of the documents that Ms. Morawski submitted, the Department of Public Health does not have responsive records to her specific request, as we do not own this sort of information. Neither do we break down specifically the client to case manager ratios of our behavioral health supportive housing services. In regards to her other 5 requests that she has submitted, we are currently working on seeing if our dashboard has any of this information. While some of the different requests are referring to either the Department of Public Health or the Conard Supportive House Services, those are currently to be determined in terms of whether or not the Department of Public Health has any responsive records. I have identified our behavioral health systems director, supportive housing director, to see if we are able to pull any information in terms of data that Ms. Morawski has requested, and we are currently under the works of identifying if that information is in our dashboard or potentially information that we can provide under the contracts that we have.
Okay. Is that the end of your response?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anyone here to speak in support of the respondent? Hearing none. Members, the matter is before you. All of the speakers, please mute your microphones at this point. Thank you.
I have a question for the respondent. This is Member Padmanabhan.
Yes, I am.
There was an email from you saying that you had data on 2019 records and that you were trying to pull 2015 records. Have you, and this was a while back, have you made any inroads on that?
That specific data we have, I'm still trying to figure out if we have. The most recent data that we provided were the ones that I have provided, I believe, back in probably December 2019, if I can remember correctly. I haven't scrolled through all the pages in reference. However, the current search that we are conducting encompasses of the 5 requests that Ms. Morawski has submitted, encompasses following up on the 2015 to 2019 or 2020 data request.
Do you have any idea when this current search was undertaken?
For the, I apologize, which search are you referring to?
You just mentioned that you were your current search. You were trying to locate some of these records. When was this current search done?
The search is continuing to be ongoing. I followed up with our team today to see where our status update can be. Today they turned around and confirmed that we do not have access to specifically the Conard House case management client-centered ratios. However, they are ongoing to see if we can backtrack the records back to 2015 and the other items of request.
I have a follow-up question for you, Veronica. When we heard this case a month ago, I wasn't convinced that this was an actual document, but it sounds like this is a document that provides these ratios that somehow you did get and you've given in the past to Ms. Morawski. Can we establish that fact first?
So we do not have a document that is, I guess you could say, an official paper document or electronic document. It is based off of kind of pulling data off a dashboard or data that we have from different sources and combined into this aggregated data that Ms. Morawski is looking for. So it's not something that we can just pull up immediately. It is more of checking in our database and checking back in our previous files and piecing together information to see what we have available in terms of being responsive to this request.
So it's a report that you run from your database.
It is not a report that we merely simply run in one database. It is kind of piecing together from different resources that we have. So in our dashboard, we will have, let's say, the number of clients, or in our terms, patients that we oversee. However, it's not as simple as pulling it all together to one case manager or for one specific year, or to kind of aggregating those numbers all in one go. The database does not necessarily support that. It is something that we have to ask our data analysis and our IT team to pull together.
Okay, let me ask the question a different way. do you, let's say on an annual basis, run reports for your own department to see what these ratios were at to measure your own performance, or to put together as your annual report, to the Board of Supervisors or anything like that? Is this a stat that you regularly produce for other reasons?
I think if we were rephrasing your question, this is not something that we run annually or from a kind of a regular report that we run.
Okay, next question. To get those stats, would it not be possible just to give the 4, 5, or 6 documents that you use to compile those stats and give all that to Ms. Morawski and let her determine the ratios from that?
I am the kind of the custodian of records, and I don't have the answer to that specific information in terms of how this system is specifically ran. And I am not aware if there are, let's say, as you mentioned, 5 documents that can be simply provided. From my understanding, it looks like it's data pulled together from different resources, and it may not just be a document per se that they're grabbing information from.
Okay, who is the person compiling that data and providing the ratio, the number? Who's doing that work?
I am working with the director of our behavioral health services, and I am not sure if they are the ones running the reports or running the data, but they provide me with the information. And that person is, I am going to butcher their last name, but I believe the director is Edwin Batongbagal.
Okay, but at the end of the day, someone is, compiling all this stuff and saying, here's the numbers you're looking for. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm relaying with one person from the team, the behavioral health services team, supportive housing team.
It would have been very helpful if that person came to this hearing.
And I have one more question. How did you get the 2019 data?
I worked with the individual that I just mentioned who provided me that information when I relayed the request over from Ms. Morawski.
Okay, members, we have a dilemma here.
I'm sorry, this is Ms. Morawski. Did you address me?
No, not yet. We're still talking amongst the members, and I want to throw this out to the members. Thank you. We'll get back to you in a second. You'll have a chance to respond to what you're hearing here. As you may know, departments are not required to create documents to answer records requests, and that's where I'm stumbling right now. I'm not convinced that this is something readily or even reasonably available. I am, however, convinced that there's enough documents that should have been released in a timely fashion to let Ms. Morawski come to her own conclusions and her own ratios. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I appreciate your input. What you guys think about that?
Yeah, this is Fraser.
I'm hearing. Okay, start again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that line of questioning, Chair Hyland. I think I'm in a similar position where it seems as though this would be creating a record to respond as precisely as possible, but it seems as though there could have been records produced that were potentially broader, but would have met the requirements of the requester. So I'm inclined to think this is within our jurisdiction.
Padmanabhan, did you have any thoughts?
I just feel that if the records were produced for December 2019, then it is possible to produce it for some of the other years. And there's been enough time to produce it. Or indicate that, the records just do not exist, or there is some kind of complication to it.
Okay.
So I do believe that there is jurisdiction here.
Okay. Ms. Morawski, we have a question for you. You don't happen to have a copy of that 2019 data, or Ms. Vianney, or that you produced, and is it in our packet? Either one of you may answer that.
Hi,
One.
this is Liza. I do have it open. It might take a minute, but I'm sure that if I can prove 72 pages of evidence or requests, and again, I just want to reiterate that I received an email on March 31st saying that, is there any edits to this FOIA? I will get you this information. So again, I think that, and nothing personal, but the argument is very weak. And this is some data that I think is extremely important to Mental Health San Francisco. And I was under the impression that Edwin was retiring, so I'm not sure why you're not speaking to our new director, Dr. Kunis, at the Department of Public Health or Behavioral Health Services. If you're speaking to the Mental Health Association, then that's a different arena. And again, then it would be helpful if either he would be at the table or that I would be invited to that table, because this is exactly why I'm asking for this request. This is
Okay, Ms. Borowski, I'm gonna stop you there. Can you point to our packet where that information was? I remember that email. I remember seeing that when we looked at this last month. But what did you actually see?
This is Veronica Vian. If you refer to packet page 22, it looks like that's where you can find our initial response from DPH.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let's take a look at that. And this is page 22, you said. Okay, okay, you're right. As of December 19th, here's the data I have available for you. Okay, so you're just emailing her those ratios. You're not sending her a document. Okay, for intensive care management programs, intensive case management programs, caseload ratio is currently fixed at 17 clients to 1 case manager. There are about 15 intensive case management programs. For regular mental health outpatient programs, the average caseload ratio is about 60 clients to 1 case manager. There are 30 regular mental health outpatient programs. I'm in contact with BHS to see if we can pull data back from 2015. Who's BHS? Behavioral Health Services?
That's for Behavioral Health Services.
Okay.
This is
and are these the, hold on 1 second. Are these the people you're talking to now to get the other ratios?
That is correct.
Okay. So the process that you did there back in December of 2019, or as of December 19, let's see, when did you do this? This was in March, was it? Yeah, Friday, March 5th. Okay. I don't actually see a date on that that entry there from page 22, Veronica. When did you send that? Because there's no header or anything.
For that one, it is not my specific document, and neither do I have the original up, so I am
okay. So
not
this
able to tell you now.
This looks like Lisa's email, which she included in the package. Okay, all right. So what you did for that, since you've already done it, can you not do for the remaining requests?
The thing is, when I was provided with this information, as you can see, the email above from Ms. Morawski, it was very clear-cut what she was looking for. However, we could not provide to that level of information, to that level of detail, excuse me, that she is looking for, because she's looking for the different sorts of breakdowns. However, we the way we categorize it was not the same way that she's requesting it.
I mean, looking back at her a little bit above on page 22, she says date range January 2015 to the present date, which I assume was December 2019, and that's why you write back as December 19. Here's what I have for you. So was that between 2015 and 19? Is that what you gave her? Or are you just saying as of this date and time, that's what I have?
That was as of this date and time, I believe. We didn't have a breakdown from the year by year. Neither did we have it broken down by the different supportive service accommodations that Ms. Morawski was referring to, which was homeless outreach, shelters, navigation centers, and so forth.
So at any one time, you can see where you are as a snapshot, but you can't go back and produce reports for certain date ranges or past years. Is that what you're saying?
Again, I do not have access to the specific system. This was the information that was provided to me when I initially relayed this request over to the Behavioral Health Services team.
So they saw the request, which was for a range of 4 years, and they gave you an answer, which was here in time today. That's what they gave you.
That is correct.
Okay. Members, back to you. Any other thoughts based on that information?
May I make a clarifying question or have a clarifying question?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
So again, let's bring it to the present. On 3/31/21, I received a letter, an email from Veronica. Thank you so much for connecting me on the phone.
Hold on one second. Can you tell us what page that is on our packet you have in front of you?
Again, I will reiterate it. It's at the very end of the 72 pages because it's one of the last submittals.
Okay.
And I also sent it to the board immediately after the meeting or during the meeting last time, where she sent me the 5 requests, clarified the language of the request, and confirm and let me know if you'd like any changes before I input the new changes to the next request system and tag each request. She has them all listed, worded the way that she just said I didn't word correctly. She asked me for any edits, and it states she's going to submit it as is for all 5.
Okay.
Again, I can read it to you again.
That's on page 65, members. Page 65. Okay, I'm seeing that here. Hold on one second, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm going to put myself on mute because I'm in the Tenderloin.
Okay.
You can hear the crickets maybe.
Very good. All right. Appreciate that. It's actually not 65. I think it's 64. No, page 70. I'm seeing from Veronica Vienne, Friday, March 5th. Thanks for connecting us, Cheryl, moving you to BCC. Hi, Lisa. We apologize for missing your records request. Please let me know which record numbers we have missed. I'll make sure to give you a status update on them. And then letter from Cheryl. Umbrella, public health. So, Ms. Fian, back to you. This was, what, 3 months ago. What have you been able to compile since then?
This specific request from March fell off our radar, and we are doing our best right now to relay this information to the team to see what they can compile for Ms. Morawski.
Okay. All right. Well, here's where I'm at with this. I think at the very least, there's certainly violations of timely response whether there are any documents or not. And you know, it's okay to say we don't have documents, but you have to make that. You have to, you know, do that within a reasonable time frame. I'm persuaded by member Padmanabhan that because you were able to get a snapshot on December 2019, that same snapshot is what she's asking for. I think with her other, you know, requests. And I think I realize it's going to take you a while to compile this, but I think we need to set up a schedule of deliverables from you to her. Let's say 1 item per week going forward. How many items are outstanding? Is it 4 or 5? You know, to get all the missing years. And then, you know, let's get this done. I mean, I still think this needs to go to the full task force to record that this records request was not, you know, completed adequately or correctly. But it would look a lot better, Ms. Vienne, if when you appear in front of the full task force in, let's say, a month, you've satisfied all these outstanding records requests on a schedule that we can all agree upon here today. Is that reasonable?
That is something we will do our best to establish. Sure. Yes.
Okay. And in your knowledge, what ratios, what pieces of information do you still owe Ms. Morawski? Do you have a list?
Based off of the page 60 or 70 that you're referring to, there are a total of 5 requests. Let me see. I'm not sure when the next meeting will be, but by that meeting, if we were to do our best to try to make complete one request per week, that will take about 5 weeks. And given that it's June 8th today, 1, 2, 3. I hope we will be able to close out all these requests one by one per week by, I would say, July 8th, if we have 30 days from today.
Okay. Members, does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Sounds reasonable to me. This is Member Frazier.
Okay. All right. Ms. Morawski, does that sound like something that will work for you? Give you a second there to unmute.
Thank you. I just had to unmute. Yes. However, I still would like to see it go in front of the full board, so that it can be recorded for violations based on the timeline.
Yeah, it will be. No
Thank
worries.
you.
Okay. So I think based on that, let's take a pause here and take a little bit of public comment, and then we could deliberate as to exactly what our motion would be. And I'd like to get some detail in there so that this moves on.
You want public comment before a motion?
Well, I think, you know, it's clear what the motion is going to be, but I guess we can go ahead and make the motion. Why don't we do that? And then we can add the instructions after the motion. But I'd like the motion to, well, that's a good point. I'd like to get the schedule on the record, that what Ms. Vienne just said, and, you know, put the deliverables on there. That doesn't have to be part of the motion, but I'd like that to be read into the record. So would someone like to make a motion to find jurisdiction and refer this to the full task force? And you may recommend violations if you want, or you can just leave it open and let the task force come up with the violations they feel are applicable. I think the original motion called for 6721 timeliness, I believe, but we can just refer it as is and let the full task force determine what violations. So who'd like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm happy. This is Member Frazier. I'll move to refer this matter to the full Sunshine Ordinance Task Force for a review of potential violations of the ordinance.
Okay.
Do we want to specify which violation? 6721?
No, we've got some creative members on the task force, so I'll let them have a chance to fully explore what they'd like to pursue.
Do you also want to make public records and jurisdiction?
Sorry, what?
Do you also want to find jurisdiction as the records are public?
Yes.
And do we have a second?
This is Member Padmanabhan.
I think we lost you there. Could you repeat that? You're on mute.
Member Padmanabhan, Chris was asking a question.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm having network issues, but I didn't hear the second.
Oh, I spoke up. This is Member Padmanabhan, and I move to second that motion.
Okay. All right. Based on that, let's take some public comment on that motion. And is it just me having network issues, or are you guys having trouble hearing, like cutting in, cutting out? Must be just me. Okay. All right. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Do we have speakers?
Yes.
Anybody else? Last call for public comment. Does anybody else want to speak?
I believe it's just anonymous.
Just anonymous. Okay. Are you ready, sir?
I am.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. So I think the comment made by the chair probably halfway through the hearing was what's important here, which is even if they don't want to do the ratio calculation, if there is a public record that would reflect the information sought, the Sunshine Ordinance goes beyond the CPRA. The CPRA says you have to produce public records, but a Sunshine Ordinance allows you to ask for public information, which is defined as the content of any public record. So if there's any public record whose content would actually turn out to answer the requester's request, they'd still have to turn it over. And as you decided in Patrick Manette Shaw versus the city attorney's office, and I think everyone here was on the task force at that time, it's still a violation because they could have just turned over the underlying database as this agency could. Now, most agencies won't do this, and they'll make the report. And the reason is it's actually less work to make the report than do the extraordinary amount of redaction that would be required to kind of anonymize the underlying databases. And that was the same case in the Patrick Manette Shaw case where you ruled in his favor as well. Thank you very much.
Public comment, please.
You ready, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, sir.
Thank you. Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. I would like to second what Anonymous has just said and underscore it perhaps even more clearly or sharply, and that is that Section 67.21c, as in cat, is very clear that there's a duty to assist somebody to identify what the appropriate records might be. I'll read it. Section 67.21c, a custodian of a public record shall assist a requester in identifying the existence, form, and nature of any records or information maintained by, available to, or in the custody of the custodian, whether or not the contents of those records are exempt from disclosure, and shall, when requested, do so, provide in writing within 7 days following receipt of a request a statement as to the existence, quantity, form, and nature of records relating to a particular subject or questions with enough specificity to enable a requester to identify records in order to make a request under Section B. A custodian of any public record when not in possession of the record requested shall assist a requester in directing a request to the proper office or staff person. So that's the full Section C, and I think it's quite clear that when folks, narrowly speaking, don't have the information or document that somebody is requesting, they have a clear duty not just to sit down and say, sorry, I don't have it, or what you require would require us to create a record, but rather to help and to reasonably point people to information and records that would assist them in getting what it is they want. So I think that's a very specific and important section of Sunshine that doesn't sound like it was carried out, and is also a
30
violation.
seconds.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment on the motion? Cheryl, can we take a vote on that motion?
Okay. Member Fraser?
Aye.
Member Fraser, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Fraser, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to refer the matter to the task force for violations and find that the records are public and that there is jurisdiction. We want to find a violation of 6721. Is that it?
No, we're just referring it just like that.
All right, fine.
And if you could please ask Ms. Bien to send us a letter with the 5 due dates and the 5 pieces of information on a schedule. We'd like that into the record also by the time this goes to the full task force.
Ask Ms. Vian to produce a schedule of responses. Am I correct, Kevin? Jaya? Chris walked away. I wanted to be sure what he said.
Yes, one a week.
Before the July task force hearing.
Well, I don't know that we want to put down before the task force hearing. We want to see that activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Ms. Vian. Yeah.
And it'd be even better if Ms. Vian, if you list each request with a due date next to it, and then the next request with the next due date, so it's all itemized in a nice tight schedule, and send that to us in the next couple of days, and CC Ms. Borowski, and we will consider that, especially the status of that, when we meet for the full task force.
Should we say, instead of the next couple of days, should we say by close of business Friday this week?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
All right.
And I think July 8th was the final deadline for the fifth piece of information.
Hi, this is Veronica Vian. I am happy to send that schedule to the task force and to Cheryl by end of day Friday this week. I do want to make a correction to my deadline. Given that there's 5 items, it will be 5 weeks, so it'll be over 30 days, and I'm counting again, and it looks like the date starting from this week, it will be July 13th, which is a
I
Tuesday.
agree. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
That way you can celebrate Bastille Day the next day. All right. Thank you, Ms. Vienne. Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Cheryl, if we can hear the next item, please.
Okay. Item number 5, file number 20100, complaint filed by Winship Hillier against the Behavioral Health Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67A by failing to post the agenda within 72 hours prior to a meeting and to provide a description of each item of business. 67.7B by failing to post documents on the website or make available to the public. 67.7D by failing to take action on any item not on the agenda. 67.7G by failing to allow public comment. 67.9A by failing to post relevant documents on the internet. And 67.16A by failing to provide disability access information.
Okay, do we have both parties here? Mr. Hillier, are you here? Or Ms. Hillier?
Yes, sir.
All right. And who's, Ms. Vienne, are you speaking on behalf of the HC? Or is someone else?
Could
you repeat that? Is there anybody speaking on behalf? Ah, now we can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Can anybody
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, yes. This is Jeffrey Greer, acting executive director of the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds and the Behavioral Health Commission.
Okay. All right. We could have used you on the last case.
Well,
All
I'm
right.
for hire.
Okay. Okay, we have both parties here. Mr. Hillier, if you'd like to go first, Cheryl will let you know when you have your 3 minutes.
Mr. Hillier, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm timing myself, so I won't need a 30-second warning. The characterization is a little bit off. The last, we weren't asserting a violation of 67.16. That only applies to charter boards and commissions. And also the with respect to posting of minutes, characterized, I think, as a 7A and a 9B, or a 7B and a 9A, I'm sorry. It really should be 67.29-2, which requires approved minutes to be posted within 2 days of their approval. The commission has basically admitted all of the claims, so there's not much here to litigate. However, I do want to draw attention to a jurisdictional issue about whether a meeting actually occurred. Government Code Section 54952.2 subdivision A requires that a majority of the members be present in order for there to be a meeting. And in the Sunshine Ordinance, Section 3B as in boy, has the same requirement. And there's some question about whether people who are serving as holdover appointees count as members of the commission. I think they don't. Section 5604 of the Welfare and Institutions Code, which applies to the commission, subdivision C, says that the term shall be for 3 years, period. It does not say the term of office shall be 3 years and until a successor is appointed. It says the term shall be 3 years, period. So it doesn't seem to me like that allows holdover appointments, and there's a matching section in the Administrative Code, Section 15.13, subdivision A. I think says the very same language. So I think those people don't count towards quorum or towards the majority of the members. And there's also a question of how do you count the number of members on the commission? There are a lot of people, there are a lot of empty seats. There were a lot of empty seats at the July 15th meeting last year. And there is a question about whether Charter Section 4.104 applies to the commission, which says a quorum is a majority of the members. And there's an interpretation of that the majority of the members means the majority of seats. And so it's a constant number regardless of appointments. And I'm just about to run out of time here. There is a question about whether 4.104 even applies to the commission. I hold that it does not, and that the argument is not included on the record. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in support of the petitioner? Hearing none. Respondent, you have 3 minutes. Cheryl, let them know when you're ready.
Mr. Greer?
Yeah. Yes. Well, actually, I'm kind of aghast at all of this. I was notified of this complaint at 11 o'clock this morning. So I really haven't had an opportunity to evaluate and look at everything that the complainant has posted here. But just reading the file, I can't agree to all of that. Nobody just admitted to all of these complaints that he's making. I off the cuff, just responding and understanding what's going on. I took the position in February. He's now going back to May and June of 2020. So I need to go back and evaluate somebody else's filings. But,
I have to interrupt. Is anybody hearing that tone?
Yeah, I do.
I did hear it. I am muting everybody right now. When you do need to speak, please unmute yourself. I'm sorry for messing up the timing, but it is very disruptive.
Yeah, we'll add that time.
Mr. Greer, I will add 30. I will add extra time to your speaking.
Do what now? Because can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How long do I have?
You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, the fact that this statement that the documents were unavailable and there's failing to provide disability access information, I need a definition of that. But I mean, just off the cuff, I mean, we had COVID in March. Everything went digital. Everything has been virtual. Mr. Hillier has been very aware of that. He seems to be very cogent and able to load massive amounts of paper on anybody that's willing to receive them, much less digital downloads. But yet, he seems unable to go to the website on DPH and access the agenda. Now, given the fact that there is a right, and I understand there's a letter of the law, and he does have a right to request his personal package. However, there's also the spirit of condition in which, and we're dealing with a pandemic. Not everybody wants to handle paper and hard copy. Not only that, but we've done as best we can on the conditions that we're been saddled with to make sure all public access and commissioners are fully versed and aware of everything that all the topics that we're talking about. I feel like I'm handicapped at this point because once again, as I stated, I mean, I just got this thing at 11 o'clock in the morning. I feel like I need a little more time to prepare. I don't know what the ramifications are. I just know that it seems, for lack of a better word, a bit excessive to me. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gear. Anyone here in support of the respondent? And Ms. Vienne, are you still here? I don't hear her. Did I hear someone else?
Sure, Highland. This is Victor Young.
Yes, go
I'd
ahead.
just like to put out a few cautions to the committee. If the complaint was not listed in the original submission, we really should not be considering it, as the respondent has not had time to review any new issues that were brought up recently. And it sounds like a few new issues were brought up. As some of the issues that were brought up, I do not believe are in the jurisdiction of the Sunshine Ordinance or the Public Records Act. I'm not sure if quorum is listed in the Sunshine. I do not recall that being the case. And we should address the individual complaints listed in the filing if possible, and eliminate them if possible, so that we're not, so we can revise this title to address what is actually
I agree.
in dispute.
And a quick question, Victor. At the beginning of our package, which is page 78 PDF, that complaint summary, who put that together? Is that our staff
Let me
doing that?
take a look. One moment.
If it's just the summary, I put that together with information that I had gotten from Mr. Hillier on what he saw as his as the violations.
Okay. Well, it looks like, and that's one of the first things he said in his presentation, that what we have listed is not necessarily what he listed. So the original complaint is that 4 or 5 page letter dated July the 18th. Is that where you drew that information from, Cheryl?
Probably.
Okay, let me take a look at that.
I mean,
Okay, so yeah, I see reference to 677A. Okay. Yeah, and what we're doing at this meeting is just making sure, that we have jurisdiction, and then if there's a confusion as to what violations are being sought, we can certainly clarify that, and then let the full task force decide if they find violations, which ones they determine to be, the complete list. So I'm going to go back to the petitioner, Mr. Hillier, and I want you to go back to your opening statement and tell me what it is that you feel are the violations, so at least we have that down for the record correctly.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I broke down the violations into a discrete list on page P as in Paul 103. That's page 27 of the PDF file, in August 28, 2020 email. I split it into 8 distinct claims. Claim number 1 was failure to post within 72 hours of the meeting. Number 2 was
hold on one second.
There was a motion.
Mr. Hillier, hold on one second. I'm trying to find this in the package. You said page 27, or what was the other page reference you gave us?
P as in Paul 103.
All right, hold on one second. I'm having network issue, which means it's pulling up everything very slowly. Bear with us here. Okay. There we go. That's a nice breakdown. All right. All right. So members, we should really be looking at this summary.
But I would like to mention the last claim number 8. It should again be 67.29-2. Though the respondent didn't have that information.
Okay, so your claim number 8 at the bottom there. You'd like to insert 6729-2.
That's correct.
Okay. And the ones above I see are 7A, 7A, and D, 15A and B, 9A, and then 6729. Is that what I'm seeing? Okay, I'm just paraphrasing what I
yes,
see.
that's true. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. And since I have you here, you mentioned that they being maybe Mr. Greer's predecessors, have already admitted to these violations, or some of them. Was that in writing? Was that verbally? And if it's in writing, can you point that out in the packet?
Yes. The first response of the commission is dated September 24th, 2020, and it may be found on pages P as in Paul 135 through 37. And then I questioned their response because it didn't seem adequate, and so they sent a second response on October 1st, 2020, which appears on page P as in Paul 146.
Okay. I see. If we failed to provide public comment before the vote was taken, it was unintended oversight. All right. Okay, so there's two things they've admitted to. Is that all they've admitted to in writing?
I think they've admitted to everything. Yes,
Okay.
those are all their written responses.
So 135 plus 146 is the list of everything they've admitted to. And Mr. Greer, I guess you haven't had a chance to read this entire package and see all this previous correspondence. Is that correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And what was your title again in relation to this body?
I'm the executive director of San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund, and for better labeling, it should actually list as staff for the Behavioral Health Commission on support.
Okay, but are you the correct person that should be at this hearing?
Yes, I am the correct person.
Okay, all right. And who was your predecessor?
I've had a couple. I think there was Helena Brooke, and then no, prior to her was Marilyn Toscani. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think Marilyn Toscani was prior.
I believe those people have retired.
Yeah, I think during this time that he's alluding, he's talking about Marilyn Toscani.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I see.
She was the chair, the person. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see. I see a response from them referencing Chair Toscani. And okay. All right. Yeah, members, this looks like pretty detailed responses from the from what was then called the, I guess, BHC. And is BHC is what you still call yourselves, or have you moved into something else?
BHC, no, the BHC is the Behavioral Health Commission. That is the current title. Prior to that, it was known as the Mental Health Board.
Okay.
Or MHB.
Okay. All right. Members, I'll take a break here, let you guys chime in. Any other follow-up questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I think pages, I'm sorry, this is Member Padmanabhan. Pages 135 through 137, basically, I think the BHC, or who the response to the complaint, there is an admission of violation in almost every category. So, so my question would be for the respondent, Mr. Greer. Do you have any idea? I don't know if you would, but do you have any idea if this was the first meeting after after the shutdown?
Was what the first meeting?
Was the failure to post, so the July 15th, 2020 meeting, was it the first one after the shutdown, or was there one prior to this too?
You know, I couldn't speak to that. However, they are published on the DPH website, so there would be a record of the agenda and the minutes. So if there was a meeting that took place in May, it'll be right there. And matter of fact, if you want to wait a while, I can go look it up right now.
What I'm trying to get at is the agenda was not published in time, and there was some delay due to the IT personnel not having adequate information. It just seems like there was the process was not followed. So
that the process was. Well, it may not. It may. I can't. In truth, I can't honestly deny it or endorse it because I don't know. I can, in the interest of full transparency, say that I have also, during my short tenure, filed, and it was not filed on time within a 72-hour period because of a technical issue. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with Mr. Hillier. It had purely something to do with DPH's process. If you don't file before 5, sometimes it doesn't get posted. If that individual happens to be out, unknowing to me, because I'm not going to get a letter saying so-and-so is out of work today, and you file, then it gets bumped off to the next day. I don't know what their process is, whether it gets shipped down to someone else who's second in command, but there's enough links in the chain for even the most perfect filing to take place for something to fail. I'm amazed that that there hasn't been more. But I think during my tenure, I think there's been only one filing that may have been tardy on the 72 hours. That's my knowledge of the system now at this point.
I'd like to make a comment.
We're going to have public comment on this in a moment.
This is Member Frazier. Mr. Greer, if you could talk more about your awareness of this matter and how it sounds as though your predecessors hadn't made you aware of this issue despite their responses, or how come this is the first you're hearing about this as of this morning?
Well, this is the first that I have been notified that there was a complaint, a complaint that I needed to show up for, and the full breadth of the complaint.
I might be able to answer that question. Kevin, we've had difficulty, and I think Victor will back me up on this. He's had difficulty locating somebody to serve our agendas on, and it was only recently that we got this person's name. And so when I found out from Victor that this is who I needed to talk to, I called him immediately and I sent him the link to the agenda, and we talked. I told him what was going on, and he said that he would make an appearance. I apologize for being tardy, but my hands were kind of tied, and I wasn't getting assistance from the Department of Public Health. I knew that Ms. Vian was out last week, and I did my best to get information from Director Colfax's assistants, and they led me to believe that I would have a name this yesterday morning.
Cheryl, let me ask a question there. So up until last week, Ms. Vian was the respondent in this case. Is that right?
She was the person that I had been trying to get in touch with on who to talk to at the Behavioral Health Commission.
Gotcha. So. Okay. All right.
May I make a statement in rebuttal? This is Win Shapilia, the petitioner.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Well, I'm a little bit mystified to hear this myself because Mr. Greer and I have been in conversation about the 4 complaints that are currently before the task force regarding the commission, and that was last month. He was saying that they just got in touch with him, so I'm perplexed to hear not only from Mr. Greer that he just heard about this morning, but also from the administrator. Because from what I understand, he was aware of this last month. Also, with respect to Padmanabhan's question, this was the third meeting after the shutdown. And they also failed to notice the June regular meeting within 72 hours. But I have not filed a complaint about that. Well, let's see, I'm not sure. I don't think I filed a complaint about that. Anyway, it's not in this complaint. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Hillier.
Chair, Mr. Greer here. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Mr. Greer, hold on. This is Chair Hyland. You'll get a chance to speak. So, Mr. Hillier, I just want to make sure that you're basically bringing to attention that certain meeting requirements have not been adhered to in these dates, and just bringing that to our attention. That's something that we take seriously. This will be referred most likely to the full task force. We may even take you up on those violations, that list that you propose, so that we can get right to the meat of this matter. But is there weren't any records that you're looking for, or any missing documents? This is just really not just really, but this is a meeting process issue that you're bringing to the forefront. Am I correct in that?
Mr. Chair, my other complaints do bring up some records issues, but this particular one does not bring up any records issues. Okay, great. All right, members. I think I've heard enough to package this part and parcel and send it up to full task force. And I think we should make a motion, and my vote in this case is to list these particular violations, so that we don't have to unpackage and go through this again at the full task force. Part of what we do here is to get all the apples and apples and oranges to oranges lined up. We can always add or take away additional or lesser violations at that point, but I think it would be good for the task force to have something to get their teeth into from the get-go. So why don't I go ahead and propose that motion to find jurisdiction.
What about public comment?
You'll get public comment after the motion is made, so please hold on for that.
Will the respondent get a chance to make a statement?
Yeah, I'll give you a chance also, Mr. Greer, but I'm in the middle of making a motion, so if you can please mute yourself, I will finish that. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to find jurisdiction and refer this to the full task force, and have the task force consider in particular the following violations listed on page 103, and I'll read them out, but Cheryl, you can go back to the record to find these, that we have them all tabulated correctly.
Can I just ask quickly if you're referring to the summary that I provided, or
no, I don't think so. I think the summary is a little bit off. So I'm going to the actual, what he listed in his initial complaint. I mean, you can compare it to the summary if you like, but I sent some discrepancies there. And those are 67.7A. Um, 67A or 67A through D is how he's writing this, I think. But I'll list them in the way that the motion was made, so, or the complaint was made. So 67A, and then 67A through D, 67G through H, 15A through B, and I'm going to add 6729-2. As things they should consider. I think the claim number 7, Mr. Hillier, and don't answer this rhetorical, that's a little bit subjective. I'm going to give the task force something, I think more meaningful to get into. You can bring that up at the full task force meeting if you feel that is still outstanding. But those are the ones I wanted to list as a first cut, if you like.
I'm sorry, was there a question for me in that?
Not yet. Hold on.
Okay.
Can I just review that with you, Chris?
Sure.
And I should refer to page 103. However, you have listed. Sorry about that. You have listed.
Actually, you know what, Cheryl? You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna pare that down for you. Let's just keep it at 67.7. I'll list it as an entire section. We can get into the nitty gritty at the full task force. And 67.29. Let's just list it that way. That's easier. So those two.
6715 G and H and A and B. Do you want to include that?
Hold on, I'm going to go and check those. And members, feel free to chime in. I'm open to amendments on this one, but I want to get us enough to work on, but not too much to.
So claim number 5 and 6 are 6715 A and B, A to B.
6715 A to B and G to H was mentioned.
Yeah, so why don't we just list it as 67.7, 67.15, and 67.29.
Two.
And not get it any more specific than that.
All right.
Members, are you happy with that? Potential seconders?
That works for me. I'm happy. This is Member Frazier. I'm happy to second the amendment.
Okay.
Or the motion, excuse me.
All right. And I'm going to give both speakers a chance to respond to that, and then I'm going to take public comments. Unless there's anything else from the members. Are you guys happy with that? Member Padmanabhan? Good? Okay. All right. Mr. Hillier, you can, if you have anything to add or detract from that, go ahead.
No, I don't. 67.29-2, though, I think is not part of 67.29, so you might just want to be clear about that.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Mr. Greer?
Yeah, I just have to look at all of this and try to digest it all. As I said, this document is news to me. Not the fact that Mr. Hillier had filed a complaint. That's old news. I think that's quite well known. But no, this is new. All of this is new to me as far as being able to visually put my eyes on it. And I can't defend my predecessors. I can't defend myself because I don't have the material to look at. I mean, I don't have anything to go on. So I guess we do what we do.
Yeah, Mr. Greer, let me just tell you that you're not the first incumbent or a new appointee that's come before us with this predicament. A lot of what we do, especially in a case like this where there are some allegations and some admissions of culpability, we're sending this up to the full task force to get its full day in court and really just enter this for the record. So this is not unusual. Hopefully you won't see much of us in your new career, in your position. But if you do, yes, you will have to prepare and read all things and go back and answer for the sins of the father, so to speak. So that is part of your, I guess, the purview of what you've signed up for.
I'm I'm willing.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm just letting you know. But this probably will go on the docket in the next, I don't know, 30 to 60 days. So you'll have plenty of time to get caught up on all the different bits and pieces and moving parts, and allow you to be more informed during the full task force meeting, where the actual orders of determination for violations will be made or not made, as the case may be. So you do have some time. Okay, after that, based on that, I would like to hold on one second. I would like to just amend that motion to specifically list 6729-2, just so that we're on point. I'd like to take some public comment from parties not involved in this. So, Mr. Greer, Mr. Hillier, this is not for you. This is for other members of the public to comment on this motion. Cheryl?
Yes, just a quick note, Chris. I had included in the motion 67.7, 67.15, and 67.29-2.
Yes, please. Thank you.
That's what I did. Okay. This is time to open it up for public comment. Public comment on the motion?
Yes, hello?
Are you wishing to make public comment on the motion?
Yes, I am.
Do we have other public commenters?
Anonymous, please.
Anonymous, that's 2 public commenters. Do we have a third? Okay, Chair Hyland, it looks like we have 2 public commenters. Would the first public commenter like to go ahead?
Yes, my name's Magic Altman, and I'd just like to say that I was hoping public comment would happen before the motion was framed, so you could hear what we thought. I would say that, it's irrelevant why, and of course there's human error, 72-hour notice wasn't given. The law is that it has to be given, so that's really not the point. I am glad that Mr. Greer's tone changed, because when he first started speaking, it was completely condescending, and as it turns out, it was not true that he hadn't heard about anything about this. So I would hope that since he's new, that he might consider being more respectful of the public and their concerns, since he is a public servant. Thank you.
Okay, next public speaker is Anonymous. Cheryl, let them know when you're ready.
Sir, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is Anonymous. So I would like to agree with the prior commenter on the fact that intent doesn't matter. The Sunshine Ordinance, as the task force has many, many times discussed, is not, you don't have to prove intent, you don't have to prove bad faith, they don't have a defense of good faith. All of that applies, when things go to the Ethics Commission for willful violation, and that's a whole separate issue. And it is actually very concerning that commissions or meeting bodies don't necessarily have a particular respondent's representative that can come here and be held responsible. And that's not just an issue with the Behavioral Health Commission. It also happens, I think the only meeting body I've had complaints against is the Police Commission, where I think it's Sergeant Youngblood, their secretary, comes here, but he's not responsible for what the commission does. It's the commission as a body and their commissioners who are responsible. And it's not really possible to hold the commissioners responsible. They never come here. And unfortunately, the Sunshine Ordinance isn't written in a way that allows us to hold people who aren't department heads or elected officials responsible. Unfortunately, that's just how 6734 is written. And the Ethics Commission has brought this up as well. Who do you hold responsible when a commission violates the law? Unfortunately, it's not clear, and I hope that this is one of the cases that you use to maybe consider in your Compliance and Amendment Committee how you should amend the Sunshine Ordinance to hold a commission legally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers on the motion? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. If we could take the roll. Cheryl?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, just making
Okay.
sure you're there.
No, I'm here.
And we may have lost member Fraser. He said he had to leave early. I'm not sure if he's still on, but
I think he is. I see it. I see an icon.
okay. All right, I don't see a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and take the roll.
All right. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Fraser? Member Fraser?
Come back to him, Cheryl.
All right. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, second by.
Wait. Can you ask Member Fraser again? Oh, I'm getting a message. His mic is not working, but he's written aye.
Yeah.
So please record him as an aye.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely having network issues tonight.
Okay. Moved by Chair Hyland, second by Member Fraser, to find jurisdiction to refer the matter to the task force and have the task force consider the following violations of 67.7, 67.15, and 67.29-2.
All right, thank you. Member Fraser, you might want to dial back in if you're not already. That might help you reconnect. Okay. And let's go ahead and call the next item.
Item number 6, file number 20106, complaint filed by Mimi Klausner against the Police Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.7 by grouping several agenda items into one, and 67.15 by failing to provide an opportunity for public comment during a Police Commission meeting of August 19, 2020.
Okay. And are both parties present? Ms. Klausner, are you here with us? I hear something, but I don't hear a voice. Welcome back, Member Fraser. All right. Is anyone from the Police Commission here?
Sergeant Youngblood from the Police Commission.
Welcome, Sergeant Youngblood. Thank you. Ms. Klausner, are you here?
Just a reminder, if you are on the line listening and muted, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Let's give her another few seconds here. Is this the first time we're hearing this?
I just have to say, I know Mimi has been here and she wasn't recognized last time, so she must be having technical difficulties because she's worked on this for months.
Okay, who's speaking?
This is Magic Altman, who worked with her on this issue.
Okay.
And she has a written statement. I mean, you know, that she sent to me that she was ready to read tonight. She said she tried to comment earlier and wasn't recognized, so she must be also having technical difficulties. I will text her. And Mimi, are you there?
Hello?
Yes,
there she is.
We can hear you. Okay, fantastic. All right. Thank you, Ms. Altman, for coming to the rescue. All right.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Here.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
yes, I am here. Yes.
all right. When Cheryl gives you
Thank you to Magic.
all right. When Cheryl gives you the green light, you'll have 3 minutes to kind of give us your summary. So stand by for that.
Okay.
Ms. Klausner, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, but before I start my 3 minutes, I didn't fully understand your procedures and that I should have submitted this testimony in time for it to be sent to the whole, the whole subcommittee. So I would like to be able to submit it
and have it available for the full task force if it goes on to that.
Yeah, that you'll have plenty of time to do that. Basically, we're just deciding here at the committee level, is it public information? Do we have a jurisdiction? Make sure it's all packaged, and that'll include you adding additional documents, and that whole package will then go up to the full task force. So you're
okay.
not late.
And then I didn't realize that I only had 3 minutes, so I'm going to have to speak somewhat more quickly than I'd like to, but in any case, here it is. So
that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
My name is Mimi Kim Klausner, and I've been a San Francisco resident for 36 years. I want to thank you for agreeing to review my complaint against the police commission. I hope that you find it has enough merit to forward to the whole task force. I'd like to comment on how the police commission has responded to the complaint as outlined in Sergeant Stacy Youngblood's May 17th email and as implemented in its agendas. It's definitely a step forward to schedule public comment on non-agenda items as the first agenda item. It's now possible for members of the public to voice their concerns on general matters of interest to the commission without having to wait until the end of the meeting, which can be more than a few hours. I appreciate the commission's readiness to address our concerns, which it was unwilling to do before we filed this complaint and under the leadership of the previous president. And I do want to echo the previous public commenter who was saying that Sergeant Youngblood is just here as staff and apparently does not have a whole lot of say in all of this. And I would agree that somebody from the commission should be here. However, there is still a significant obstacle to the public's participation in the commission's refusal to list the reports from the police chief, DPA director, and the commission as separate agenda items. Youngblood states that presentations have been removed from the report items and are now listed as separate agenda items. I take from this that the presentations will cover substantive issues, taking up more time, and that the reports are mainly statistical reports and descriptions of major incidents. In addition, the commission is now limiting the chiefs and DPA directors' reports to 10 minutes and using the June 9th agenda as an example, noting that, quote, commission discussion on unplanned events and activities the chief describes will be limited to determining whether to calendar for a future meeting. The difference between what is a presentation and what is a report needs to be clarified. Sergeant Youngblood seems to use these terms interchangeably in his May 17th email. Further work needs to be done to spell out what will or will not be covered in the reports. Of greater concern, though, is that the commission has seemed to create a more significant problem as they attempted to address our points, limiting the chief and DPA director to 10 minutes, and more importantly, limiting the commission from discussing police response to either planned or unplanned events, and only allowing the determination of whether to calendar a discussion for a future meeting is definitely not what we intended when we filed this complaint. It is exactly those types of events, whether they be a police officer killing of a civilian or police reaction to a demonstration, that need to be discussed in a substantial and timely fashion. Using this complaint to justify the restriction and delay of discussion on these grave matters is entirely unacceptable. I would rather have a longer meeting.
Your time is up. Your time is up.
You didn't give me 30-second notice?
I apologize.
Well,
you could have it on 30 seconds. Yes, you could have it on 30 seconds. We'll add that time to the other parties as well. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would rather have a longer meeting and get as many of the issues out on the table as possible than delay consideration of actions that may have resulted in death or the infringement of civil liberties. Since the three reports continue to be listed as one agenda item, the public is still restricted to 2 minutes, and sometimes the limit is 1 minute of comment on the significant issues that can be raised in these items. I don't think that the changes implemented in response to our complaints sufficiently address our concerns and seem to have created an additional issue that discussion about police response to events is delayed. And lastly, there is nowhere on the agenda that states there is public comment after each numbered item. It will decrease confusion, especially for people who are unfamiliar with how the Commission operates, to specifically spell this out, preferably at the end of each item. Without this, members of the public may decide to comment on agenda items during the general public comment item. Also, there is a tendency by the person conducting the meeting to forget public comment, so this addition will help them as well. Thank you for your consideration of these issues. And I'm sorry to do speed talking.
That's okay. Thank you. Is there anyone here who'd like to talk in support of the petitioner? And let me just add that if you do that, this will be your one chance to talk, and you will not be able to talk in public comment after the agenda item. So, Ms. Altman, if that's something you'd like to do, consider at what point you'd like to chime in. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that because when I clicked, it went mute, and then I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Sure. So I understand you've been working with Mimi on this. If you talk now, you're talking as party to this issue, which means you won't be able to talk at the end during the public comment to comment on any motion we might have. So you can have your time now as party or later as a member of the general public comment on the motion. So
thank you for explaining that. I'd like to speak now.
Okay. All right. Cheryl, 3 minutes, and please let her know when 30 seconds is up.
Thank you. So my name is Magic Altman, and I want to support everything that Mimi Klausner just said. Especially important because I've gone to police commission meetings for over 5 years, and one of the most important things that happens is when the chief talks about killings or violent actions that have happened, and then the commissioners often question him. Petra de Jesus was fierce in her questioning of that, and this is key. We can't, the public are up in arms when it happens, and then the police chief doesn't even say anything, or there's no questions or no discussion. So for them to use our complaint to actually make it worse is just disingenuous, I have to say. I've gone to many of these meetings, and I have requested the same thing, that the agenda items get separated, because to talk about a murder and a rape case and a DNA test all within 2 minutes is absurd and not respectful of the public. So I'm really glad that they have chosen to divide these up. But as Mimi said, it's very important that we know there's public comment after each one of these, because we've never gotten that. And so we won't know that. So the most important thing about these meetings is the public and their clarity about how they can be effective in speaking to these commissions. And it's very key. So I really want to say that we have to be able to question them. So at a recent meeting, for example, after they made public comment at the beginning, I've noticed the commissioners just decide to come late, especially the president showed up late, right after they had made public comment at the beginning. So if that's going to be how public comment is going to be used, is now we don't have to be there on time, well, that's not very special. Let's put it that way. And so, I was also recently at a meeting in which Chesa Bodine was there, and he spoke for over an hour, and he started his comments with, I am ready to answer questions or comments from the commission and the public. So after an hour, I'm waiting to make the comment. They don't ask for public comment until they dismiss Chesa Bodine. And so I make public comment about that, and they refuse to even respond. And I said, well, why aren't you responding to what I'm saying? They said, we have nothing to say. So generally, the public has been pretty disrespected by the commission. I won 2 unanimous complaints already against the police commission about their failure to comply with the Sunshine Task Force, of which they did nothing about it, because once again, sadly, you're not respected on the level you deserve, being the best commission for the public to have their rights. I appreciate and applaud your dedication to doing this work, even though the respect you deserve is not given. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Altman. Is there anyone else in support of the petitioner? Okay, Sergeant Youngblood, you have the floor, and you have up until 6 minutes and 30 seconds should you need it.
What?
I'm adding the extra time onto her if they need it. Yeah. Well, let me rephrase that. Her and anyone supporting her, but let's give her that time if she needs it.
Sergeant Youngblood?
Sergeant Youngblood, yeah.
Okay. Are you ready, sir?
I am. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So a couple things about this. I am, as was already stated, I am not in a position to make these changes myself, but I do go back to the commissioners and relay back what has been requested. And I am more than happy to do so in this instance as well. I'm a little confused on a few things. One of them regarding this complaint, Commissioner Cohen took over for Commissioner Taylor in January of this year. So a lot of the changes that she made to the agenda weren't spawned by this particular complaint. She wasn't even aware of the complaint when she changed general public comment to the beginning of the agenda. I think she was more aligning it towards how the supervisors, since she's a former supervisor, ran their agenda. And she wanted public comment at the beginning. As far as the agenda doesn't state when public comment is, that's something kind of new to me. I'm not aware of any agenda, including the Sunshine Task Force agenda tonight, that states when and where public comment is to be said. But I try to, or I do after every line item discussion or action, I will announce that it's public comment and tell everybody when to call in and the phone number to call in. I don't know about putting it on the agenda, but it is relayed, through me by telling everybody when public comment is coming or available. So I'm not sure what the how to fix that item. And the 10-minute limitation for the chief and for DPA also was imposed by Commissioner Cohen. And again, this was nothing to do with this complaint that she did that limitation, and she's actually limited all presentations, not just for the chief. Usually it's 10 minutes. It depends on what the topic is. If it's more of an item that the community is voicing that they would like to hear or make public comment on, then she will sometimes waive that 10 minutes. But as far as this complaint goes, we did specifically just for this complaint, we did remove all of the items out from under the commission reports and made them their own separate line items. That way everybody can comment on all the separate line items as well as general public comment. And they're not waiting that long time, because it was a long time sometimes when we would pile in all the reports under the chief's report, and DPA would have a report, and then you would have this very long presentation. So we've taken everything out, not just substantive stuff. Everything's been taken out. So now you just 10 minutes of the chief giving his statistics, DPA doing the same, the commissioners talking about what they've done since the last meeting, and then we go into a public comment. And then each line item is broken out from there and then afforded public comment. So that's really it. If there are any suggestions that I can take back to the commissioner, I'm more than happy to do so. Thank you.
Okay, is anybody here to speak on behalf of the respondent? Hearing none. Members, the matter is before you. And just a quick question, Sergeant Youngblood. Did I understand it correctly that you're kind of administering or running the meeting, and that you're taking? You are. Okay, good.
Yeah, I run the WebEx meeting. Correct.
Got it. All right. Thank you. Members?
I have a question for Sergeant Youngblood. This is Member Padmanabhan. So there was an email where you wrote that protocols changed on January 13th, 2021. Could you comment about what protocols were changed?
That was the protocols where we took all of the line items out from underneath the chief's report and gave them all their separate line items. Because before, under Commissioner Taylor, all of the items such an example. Like the early intervention system used to be a report that's because it came from the chief of staff's office, it was put in with the chief's report. But that protocol was changed to now all reports are their separate own line item with their own separate public comment.
Thank you. And for the petitioner, Ms. Klausner, what exactly would you like to see happen going forward?
Can you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to have on the agenda the three reports separated out so that there would be public comment could be made on each of the three reports separately, because these are, you know, particularly the DPA director and the police chief, you know, there's substantial issues involved, and if somebody has only 2 minutes to comment on both of those together, it's not really sufficient. So, you know, I'd like to have each of those three items that are grouped as one item become three items. So that's one thing I would like. The second thing that I would like is no limits on discussion about the content of the police commission's report, right? The way they have it now listed on their agenda is it says the commission discussion on unplanned events and activities that chief described will be limited to determining whether to calendar for a future meeting. So just as an example, if there was had been a demonstration that previous week and the police had been involved and there was, some sense that perhaps the police had overstepped, their boundaries, there would be no discussion of that. It would just be reporting of that, and that, it would have to be discussed at a future meeting, calendared for a future meeting. And that does not seem appropriate. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that, as Sergeant Youngblood says, is that he is, I would say overall fairly, good about saying that there will be public comment. I'm just saying that it would be helpful to the public that on the actual written agenda, it would say, public comment, after each item. And for that matter, on your agenda, as on your agenda, like for this meeting, it's not indicated public comment after each item. And I just think that would be helpful. It's not a big deal. It's just a way of, communicating to people who may be unfamiliar with what the procedure is, to see it there. And because the chair always has to, describe again and again when is public comment and, what can be said and not. And it's just a clarification, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Sergeant Youngblood, would you like to address the second point that Ms. Klausner has made, which is that no limits on discussions?
You're talking about the point where it says on the agenda that they would need to agendize it for a future commission meeting?
That's right.
Again, like I said, I can relay this information back to the president and tell her what was discussed here, and then agendas are up to the president on what she wants to do. But normally in those meetings, when it comes to something like that, the chief, let's say the chief says we had a a shooting, and then he'll talk about it. Usually the commissioners will ask him about it and ask for details right then and there. It's not usually put on a future agenda unless unless they start getting off the agenda to where they're talking about, okay, now this shooting, well, what about the shooting that happened last week? And then we're like, okay, that isn't put on the agenda. That needs to be put on, you need to agendize that for a future commission meeting. But I'm really trying to rack my brain here and think of a time during a commission meeting where they haven't asked him questions about any of the reports that he's said back to the commissioners. I could be wrong, but I just can't think of any of where that has happened. A discussion wasn't allowed.
May I say something?
This is Member Frazier for a question for the respondent, Sergeant Youngblood. Since you've reading from page 192, it looks as though you implemented changes as of January 13th, 2021. Have you, from your experience, has the public participation since those changes been more robust, or have you noticed any changes in the amount of public comment?
Public comment has changed drastically, but I think that's a lot of that has to do with just the fact that we've gone to a virtual environment where it just seems like more people have access to the public comment now, where you don't have to be at City Hall. You can call in, you can be on WebEx. And then we did, we switched from Teams to WebEx. So there's a lot of growing that occurred in that time and trying to get used to the virtual and the new platforms and stuff. But switching over to where we've done it, each individual line item, I would say that it's not that more people are commenting. I think it's just the people that normally attend the police commission meetings are getting more chances to make public comment on each item. So in that way, I think it's been good for not only the public to be able to talk on each item as it occurs, but I wouldn't say that like we've attracted more people to the police commission and we have like tons of public comment that's happening. I think we just now have more narrowed down public comment on the issues, which it seems to be better. I would hope.
Are you done, Member Frazier? I was going to ask him a question also.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Okay. And we'll get to you in a second, Mr. Klausman, just hold on. Sergeant Youngblood, can you explain to me the 10-minute in a bit more detail? Are you talking about, when?
May I say something?
Yeah, in a second. We'll get to you in 1 second.
Yeah, okay.
The 10-minute presentations are like presentations made to the commission by third parties or others, or did I hear you say that discussion on an item the chair is trying to limit to 10 minutes to then move on to another item? Perhaps if you could clarify that for me.
Sure. So the chair has decided that she wanted 10-minute presentations, not only by the chief and the director of DPA, but everybody that was making a presentation, and this included the police department, when like different units would come and present regarding the CRI project, or they would come in and they'd talk about anything. The chair decided we're going to make it a 10-minute limit on that presentation. Now the discussion afterwards is not limited. So it was just basically, she didn't want like 40-page PowerPoints and unlimited discussions. She kind of narrowed it down.
All right, that's what I thought. Great. Yes, petitioner, go ahead. Give you some time.
So I just wanted to say that Sergeant Youngblood has said that generally the commissioners are able to ask questions, let's say about a police shooting. Then if that's the case, then please don't say on the agenda the only discussion that will be allowed is, is about calendaring it for a future meeting. So it's just being clear about what is permissible or not. Yeah, I understand you don't want to be talking about all police shootings or the larger issues, involved with police shootings at that meeting, but, to indicate that there could be discussion or questions, about that particular item, then, would be helpful rather than saying on the agenda that it will be limited only to calendaring it for future discussion.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, any other thoughts? Are we getting near a motion here?
So, Vice Chair Hyland, just to, for my own edification and my own desire to learn more about our jurisdiction, is the contents of an agenda explicitly within our jurisdiction?
I was taking a look at 67.7 while we were meeting. And it says, and let me just read it into the record. Give me 1 second here. So many windows open, I've lost it here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. So 67.7 reads as follows. Hold on, I'm having network issues here. Okay, agenda requirements, regular meetings. At least 72 hours before a regular meeting, a policy body shall post an agenda containing a meaningful description of each item of business to be transacted or discussed at the meeting. Agendas shall specify for each item of business the proposed action or a statement the item is for discussion only. In addition, a policy body shall post a current agenda on its internet site at least 72 hours before a regular meeting. Section B. The description is meaningful if it is sufficiently clear and specific to alert a person of average intelligence and education whose interests are affected by the item that he or she may have reason to attend the meeting or seek more information on the item. The description should be brief, concise, and written in plain, easily understood English. It shall refer to any explanatory documents that have been provided to the policy body in connection with an agenda item, such as correspondence or reports, and such documents shall be posted adjacent to the agenda, or if such documents are of more than 1 page in length, made available for public inspection and copying at a location indicated on the agenda during normal office hours. So that's the level of detail we get into on the code. Now, I'll tell you that in my experience on this and other bodies, the chair has a discretion to combine items, but I've only ever seen that done if the items are perhaps all from the same plaintiff and to the same respondent and very similar in nature. And even then, extra time is usually given for public comment and discussion of those items. And so I think lumping together 3 bona fide items as one is disingenuous and not to the spirit of the Sunshine Ordinance. And this seems like it might be a recent occurrence. I mean, the police commission does a lot of work. We have a lot of cases come out of that commission. They're pretty knowledgeable about the Sunshine Ordinance. So this is a little worrying if this is a new direction they're going in. That said, we're living in strange times with everything being virtual and online. And I think the whole city and all departments are grappling with how to handle everything in an efficient manner. But I'll end with that. So I think what we have to decide here is, was there an illegal combining, so to speak? Is it still happening? I think it's certainly worthy of the full task force. And looking at the correspondence, Ms. Klausner, it looks like you said in an email to our administrator that you still see the 3 items combined, but I thought I heard from Sergeant Youngblood that he's listed them separately. Can we clarify where we are on that? Respondent?
Yeah, can I clarify?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the 3 items are still together. That has been the case for years and years. The item is reports to the commission. That is the line item, and then it's broken down by chief and the DPA and then the commissioners themselves. But prior to Ms. Klausner's complaint, underneath each of those items, there would be presentations lumped in there together. That has not continued. That has stopped. So now each item is its own line item, but the 3 reports to the commission are still one line item, where it's reports to the commission from the chief, reports to the commission from Director Henderson, and then the commissioners. So that is one line item as a reports to the commission.
And typically,
does that make sense?
It does. Typically, how long are those presentations?
They are limited to 10 minutes now. So the chief gets 10, Director Henderson gets 10, and then the commissioners, they don't usually, they just talk about what they did or what they want on the agenda coming up, and that may be 10 minutes as well.
But potentially it could be 30 minutes of presentations before any public comment is heard?
Yes, sir.
And those presentations are not necessarily on the same subjects or same subject matter or related?
The chiefs will all be public safety related. DPAs will be their stats regarding complaints that they have received or investigations that they are currently doing. Mm-hmm. So they are similar in that they're 2 bodies that report to the commission, reporting to them on what they're doing, but different departments.
Okay. And before that, you would have those 3 as well as other presentations lumped together?
Prior to that, we did, yes.
So it would be hours and hours of presentations before any public comments heard on anything?
It could be, yes. It
could be, okay. And I know you guys are famous for your long meetings because you take place right next door to us in room 408. Yeah. So we've kept the security guards up till late hours. It's either us or you. So it's not for us to say how meetings should be run, but our purview is to make sure that agendas are meaningful, I guess, taking the words out of the charter. So I think this certainly is worthy of going up to the full task force to investigate further. I don't see any particular sections of the code that I would cite for this, but I would certainly, I think this needs to be looked at by the full body. Members, what do you think?
Yes, I agree. And I move to find that there is jurisdiction and to forward the matter to the full task force for hearing.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion. This is Member Frazier.
All right.
Do we want to say the records are public?
Yes, it's a public agenda, so yes, the records are public. And let's have some public comment on this motion.
My name is Mr. Hilliard. I'd like to make a comment.
And
go ahead.
The only stipulation is that you all have to talk together at the same time. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. All right, Cheryl, please take them one at a time.
How many public commenters do we have? I hear Mr. Hilliard.
There's also anonymous second.
Anonymous.
Yes, please.
And Mr. Warfield. Okay. Mr. Hilliard, you may go first.
Thank you. I'm starting my timer. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just actually wanted to respond to the public commenter who spoke in favor of the motion, Magic Altman, I think, or forgive me if I'm butchering your name. Two things. Yeah, it's important for the agenda itself to say that there's going to be public comment taken on each item, because the purpose of the Brown Act and Sunshine Ordinance is for the public to be able to look at an agenda and decide whether they should attend the meeting, and whether there's going to be public comment specifically on the item in which they're interested would well make the difference as to whether they would attend that meeting. So it has to appear on the agenda. It's not good enough if it's just called without appearing on the agenda. And actually, the agenda for this meeting is not in compliance in that regard. So, you know, I second that thought. But I also, she complained about saying some things during public comment, and the commission didn't respond. And I just want to point out to her that actually the commission can't respond. They are very limited. The Brown Act allows them to answer a question and to make a statement in response to a public comment. Government Code Section 54954.2 subdivision A3 allows that. However, the Sunshine Ordinance is more stringent. Section 67.7 subdivision D, I think it is, as in dog, of the San Francisco Administrative Code does not allow them to ask a question of a public commenter. I'm sorry, it does not allow them to answer a question by a public commenter, nor to make a statement in response to a public comment. All they can do is A, ask a question for clarification, B, refer a factual matter to staff for reporting back, and C, ask staff to report back on the subject matter of the public comment at a future meeting. So that's very, very limited. And so don't be disappointed when they don't respond to your public comment. And if you don't like it that way, write to your supervisor. This is our local law, and it's changeable. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Cheryl, next speaker.
Yep, just a second.
Anonymous.
Sure, let me know when I may begin.
Go ahead, Anonymous.
Thank you very much. So the previous commenter is exactly right on both halves of what he said. The first half, I think it is very important that if these agendas are not clear on exactly what is being what public comment is being asked on, what discussion and action is occurring regarding these reports, it's not a meaningful opportunity for the public to comment or to know even what this body is doing at a public meeting. But I would also agree with the second half. It's not just the Sunshine Ordinance. Even the Brown Act actually specifically prohibits them from doing anything beyond that brief response about future agendizing it for a future item. So I actually would agree with the Police Commission that on that other part. They're actually doing this to protect public participation. That if they started going into detail about something that wasn't explicitly noticed, they would actually be violating the Sunshine Ordinance and the Brown Act. There is, however, a way around it. If there is a police shooting that happens or something else that's extremely urgent, there's exceptions, specific exceptions in the Brown Act that allow them to make specific findings, determine it to be an emergency or urgency situation, and then discuss the matter. But they have to follow very specific legal requirements to do so. And if they can't meet all those legal requirements, then actually they're doing the right thing by not doing anything in detail about a specific issue unless that specific issue is noticed in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Shell, let us know when you're ready for the third speaker.
Third speaker, are you ready?
I believe that's me.
Yep.
Let me know when to start.
Go ahead, Mr. Warfield.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com. We're not a party to this complaint, but I have to say that I'm very happy with the public comment that we've just heard from both of the previous public commenters. And to quote Mr. Anonymous, they're both exactly right. The one thing I would add is that I believe that taking up a matter that's not on the agenda is not only strictly regulated, but I believe one of the regulations is, and I may need to be corrected on this, there has to be a determination that this matter came up before the agenda, after the agenda was sent out. In other words, if this was a matter that is urgent but came up, let's say, a week or two before the agenda, then there's no excuse, as far as I can tell, for having a discussion or an action on something that's not included in the agenda. The overall concept that's described in section 67.7 is exactly right. When you combine substantive, particularly substantive items in a single agenda item or in a single opportunity for public comment, you really make essentially the potential, at least, for a real jumble. When presumably the commission is discussing the matter, they have to sort out, are they talking about item 1 or 2 or 3? Then the next one talks about just item 1 and 3, and then the next one talks about 2. It's a complete jumble to try for anybody to keep track of it, let alone the public. And likewise, to allow a single public comment opportunity is to really cheat the public out of what the ordinance provides, which is separate items, each of which has a required public comment opportunity. To combine, as I said, especially substantive matters, is to potentially just paralyze or make a jumble out of public comment. And again, when multiple people are commenting, first one comments on item 1 or 2, the next one items on 3 and 1, and it once again becomes a gigantic jumble. I have seen matters combined, and in some cases it has led to kind of a paralysis on the part of a body like a commission, or it seemed to, where they just couldn't figure out the complexities of all of the items and then took no action. So I think it's very important to have separate items for separate agenda items for separate items as described in 67.2. Thank you.
Okay. Any more public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Cheryl, please take the roll.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Frazier?
Aye.
Member Frazier, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Padmanabhan, second by Member Frazier to find jurisdiction. The records are public and are forwarded to the task force.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Chair Hyland, could we take like a 10-minute break?
Sure.
Is everybody amenable to that?
Members?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we will leave the recording on, but I recommend everybody mute their phones.
All right. Let's come back at 8:17. Thank you. Cheryl, are you back yet?
I am.
All right.
Are other committee members here? Kevin, I see.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and call it back into order, Cheryl. I'm sure member Madhavan will be joining shortly.
Read the next item.
Yeah.
Item number 7, file number 20115, complaint filed by Lizette Maldonado against the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6725 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner.
Okay. Ms. Maldonado, are you on the call? Press *6 to unmute.
I did not receive communication from the petitioner that they would be unable to attend.
Hold on, I think I just heard somebody. Ms. Maldonado, are you there? Perhaps I'm hearing reverb from your voice, Cheryl. Okay. What about the respondent? Is anyone here to represent?
Hi, good evening. My name is Emily Cohen. I'm with the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing.
Okay. You're not the chair of the police commission.
No, I'm not. The other Cohen, yes. No.
All right, very good. Okay. And Cheryl, is this the first time that we're hearing this?
Yes, it's the first time any committee is hearing this.
All right. And bring us up to date on what communications you've had with Ms. Maldonado. I'm just curious to see when the last communication you received from her was.
Let me just take a look. I have a request from Ms. Maldonado. I asked her, since I hadn't heard from her, I included the response from Homelessness and Supportive Housing. Just let me know if you still wish to pursue this case. You also have an open case against the Department of Public Health. She said, yes, thank you for the information, please.
That was May 24th.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've got communication from Denny Michuka-Grebe, providing Ms. Maldonado with a response. The notice of appearance went out. Summary, complaint. And a communication from Dylan Schneider, following up with Ms. Maldonado on her complaint.
Okay.
They were willing to have a conversation. I didn't get anything from Ms. Maldonado saying she wouldn't be able to appear.
Okay. And is this against two different bodies?
There's no. She has two separate complaints. One against Homelessness Supportive Housing, and a second complaint against the Department of Public Health. But that's another issue.
Okay. So we're hearing the first one, and we have a representative here for that. Okay. I think it's safe to say this petitioner is not too familiar with our process, I'm guessing. looking at some of the emails I'm seeing here, and you never got a response from her from the notice to appear. Any confirmation? Nothing like that, right?
No, I never got a notice from her saying that she would be unable to make the appearance or attend the committee meeting. She got 2 notices, one for the appearance and then the second notice including the agenda packet.
Okay, but the question I asked is, did she respond to anything at all?
No.
Did not.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that has me a little bit worried. Okay. Well, based on our current complaint committee process, if both parties are not here, we table this and they have the opportunity to reopen it within, what is it, 30 days, 60 days?
30 days. 30 days.
Okay. So I'll just throw that out into the record. Members, what's your pleasure on this?
Yeah, it seems, this is Member Fraser, it seems as though we should table this until we have both members present.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can.
If I may, Chair.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Sorry, Emily Cohen, Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing.
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
I think if the committee takes a look at the complaint, it's quite evident in Ms. Maldonado's complaint that there is no immediate disclosure request made, nor is the complaint about anything under the jurisdiction of the Sunshine Ordinance. And we have communicated to Ms. Maldonado the way that a citizen or a client can file a complaint if necessary. So I would like to be able to pursue our traditional complaint processes for items that are not Sunshine Ordinance related for Ms. Maldonado, rather than have this continue on at the Sunshine Ordinance when the complaint has nothing to do with an immediate disclosure request or any document request of any nature.
Okay. Members, let's take a look at the original complaint. I'm having trouble locating that.
I believe it's on page 203 of the packet.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, this is Member Fraser. This does not appear to be within our jurisdiction. It seems far more policy oriented.
Yeah, I would have to say something like requesting the documents that maybe dictate this policy. But, you know, the balancing act is that agency or the department has to also help a petitioner in getting what it is that they're after. So obviously this person is not with sunshine laws. So I'm just seeing if that could have been
correct, Chair. And Chair, if you look at page 250.
Hold on. Who's this? Who is this?
Again, Ms. Cohen, Emily Cohen,
Cohen, yeah.
Department of Homelessness.
Hold on one second. We'll get to you in a second.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my inclination is to table it only because Ms. Maldonado is not present. And unless perhaps Cheryl can send her an email to ask if she still wants to pursue this complaint.
Mm-hmm.
It's I typically do that for people who don't make an appearance at a hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this person needs a bit more help than that, Cheryl. I think, that you need to let her know that she needs to request actual documents or records that might explain some of the, some of the policies that this department follows to help her, get the information she wants. But this seems like a general position statement against a policy that DSW has. So that's, again, how I'm reading this. But I also sense that this person could use a little help in getting some public information. So if you could do both those things, I think that'll be helpful. I'm also a little bit concerned that in the emails to you, she's almost asking for anonymity, although it doesn't come quite out and say that. So I'm a bit concerned about that too. So anyhow, there you go. All right. Ms. Cohen, you had another comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to draw your attention to page 229 of the packet, where you'll see an email from HSH staff to the complainant, trying to do exactly what you just described, right? Offering the assistance that she might need, and we proactively provided her with the complaint process to file a complaint. We pointed her in the right direction. We sent her the policy that was not specifically asked for, but trying to understand maybe the underlying concerns that she was raising in her complaint. So I think, really did go out of our way to ensure that she had access to the information needed to file a complaint related to the specific program mentioned in her complaint. We've reached out a number of times to have discussions with her to try to resolve the issue, far more than email. We've been quite persistent in trying to meet her needs.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then, Cheryl, you mentioned she has another case coming up.
It's not coming up. It hasn't been scheduled. I haven't received, I have requested from her on 3 separate occasions to receive her initial request for records from the Department of Public Health, and I have gotten no response.
Okay. When you get to that one, you might want to go back and look at the original complaint and make sure that it is actually a records request, so we don't get back to this point again. But I think I'm inclined to go with Member Padmanabhan's recommendation that this be tabled. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to that effect. Anybody like to second?
This is Member Padmanabhan. I'll second it.
All right. Let's take some public comment on that motion.
Sure, anonymous, please.
Anybody else?
Yes, if you could clarify what it means to table as opposed to certain other actions, that would be helpful.
Yes. So when we table an item, basically we close the case, and there is a period where a plaintiff may ask for it to be reopened if they respond within a 30-day window, and that will be explained to them in a communication from our clerk. And that is consistent with our current complaint procedures, where if the plaintiff is not present for the very first meeting. Okay, Cheryl, go ahead and let anonymous know when you're ready to start.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there are no other speakers who want to make public comment at this time.
Yeah, let's not do that practice anymore, Cheryl. Let's just announce public comment and then ask, and if we don't hear anything, we close it, because maybe people can't unmute, or people want to decide they do want to make a public comment. I don't want to close the list off. We'll give a few seconds at the end of the last talker, and then we'll close public comment that way, if you don't mind.
Anonymous, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I agree with the motion only to be consistent, and I don't think it's appropriate for the respondents to be able to argue on the merits of lack of jurisdiction because the complaint, appears to not have anything to do with the Sunshine Ordinance. Even if I may agree that that's true, last week, you guys had a very, very long discussion about whether a complainant should have the ability to have their hearing proceed without them. And in that case, it kind of, even though some of you disagreed, a majority said no, the rules are the rules. And I think that should apply when it would hurt the complainant just as it would apply when it would help the complainant. Thank you.
All right. Cheryl, let us know when you're ready for the next speaker.
I'm ready for the next speaker.
I guess that's me, is that right?
Yeah, Mr. Warfield, that is you.
Thank you. Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004, yahoo.com. Also, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. We're not a party to the complaint. I think Anonymous has made a good distinction. Last week, you had a clear expression from the complainant that he wanted to go forward. In this case, if I were to be consistent about what I argued last week, I would say that, again, the law requires the respondent to be present, and they are, and that's fine. And it does not require the complainant to be present. In this case, I think you've taken perhaps the more generous position, which would be not to shut out the complainant completely. Presumably, if you had decided without the complainant that there was no jurisdiction here, based on just from the hearing from the respondent, the outcome would be pretty negative for the complainant. If in fact there was an intention or some kind of an idea about getting documents, perhaps in relation to the issues that were mentioned. So I think that Member Padmanathan's motion is the more generous one, which would leave the possibility of your dismissing the whole thing, set that aside, and instead give an opportunity for there to be a consideration of this were the complainant to make him or herself known within some reasonable time. So I would support the motion as a kind of helpful and kinder than strictly following the rules way of handling a member of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. And just for the record, it was Chair Hyland that made the motion. I do see a hand up with a number ending in 62. Is that current? Does that person want to make public comment on this motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Cheryl, let the person know when you're ready.
Do we have an anonymous speaker?
Yes, here. Am I unmuted?
Go ahead. Go ahead, speaker.
I think they just muted themselves.
Totally. I support your decision to table this issue. It's very fair, and I find it heartening that the commission has decided